Good morning and happy Monday. I hope everyone woke up in great spirits this morning. I hope you started your day by putting God first, by saying just, a quick prayer or go into meditation or even just a thought, to God of thank you for waking me up this morning. That's the best way to start the day, by placing God first. I hope everybody had a fabulous weekend. It's good to have a couple of days off to break the monotony up from, the day to day hustle of working and, you know, just striving after the things that we're striving for. We have to take time to just rest. We are our best after we are, rested. We can then go back at it, give it another chance. We have to get rest. Today, I'm going to speak on a couple of things um, that were brought to mind. The first thing I want to talk about is don't judge the messenger. Um, Basically, what I mean by that is that people will judge you based on the things that you've done or the things that you're doing, and they'll disregard the message that you have to give. Um, I believe I believe that it's the truth that God can and will and He does use anybody, any living creature that He can to get His message through to the world to. He is no respecter of person, so regardless of what anyone has done, that does not disqualify them from being used by God. God will use a child, He will use a flower, he will use the ocean to speak to us and get a word through to us. So don't judge the messenger based on the mess that you think they have going on in their lives. Because nobody is perfect. There is no perfect one. Only God. He's the only perfect one, and we're all, as long as we're in, a physical body, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So as long as we're human, we're going to struggle with things. And I think it's good to always have a certain struggle in your life because that lets you that my struggles keep me closest to God. You know, when we go through stuff and we feel as though we can't take care of it, our friends and family can't take care of it, we go to God. So some things we're going to always struggle with. It's like having a thorn in your side. That one thorn is going to always be there because that keeps us vulnerable and keeps us going to God, and asking Him to help us in those areas. So, regardless of what someone has done or are doing or will do in the future, if they have a message, respect their message. Someone told me recently that, well, I'm much older than you, and the thing I know things that you don't know. But wisdom doesn't always come with age. Wisdom can be in a small child. There was one child. He was a poet. I think his name was Maddie. I can't remember his last name, but I recall seeing him on television some years ago, and he was, I believe, he was born with some type of disease that caused him to, be in a wheelchair for the most part of his life. I can't recall how old he lived to be, but he was very young when he passed away. But God had given him so much wisdom, in the years that he was placed here on earth. So wisdom isn't developed to those who, are much older than us. Some people can live their entire lifespan and have no clue as to what wisdom is all about. Or, I mean, you have to seek wisdom. In order for wisdom to come upon you, you have to first seek it. If you seek everything besides wisdom, you may be rich, you may be you may have a wonderful career, but if you don't seek wisdom, that's something that you won't have. Some people don't think it's important to seek wisdom. They think they need they think that whatever, they need to get by in life is good enough. I could not imagine my life without being wise and being able to make a wise decision about certain things. I could not imagine that. Some people think they got it all. They got the car, they got the house, they got, what seems to be a perfect marriage and a perfect career. But if without wisdom, you won't make the best choices with the things that you do if you don't have wisdom. So I pray first, always, God, pour wisdom into me so that I can make the right decisions with my money in choosing a mate. With the career path that I choose to go on, we have to pray for wisdom. The next thing I want to talk about is the things that we pray for. We have to first see that we have, well, God has to first see that we have made room in our lives to receive those things. I know for me personally, being that I'm a single woman and have been for many years, I pray, to God that He would send a husband or my husband to me, because I view, having a husband or being joined together in love with someone as someone who can help me, help me fight this thing called life. Help me to, see things more clearly. We can talk to one another and we can do this together. And I think, two is better than one when it comes down to accomplishing certain goals. And I pray often that God will bless me with a helpmate, someone who, will love me unconditionally and love me and, just love me and I can love him and we can do this together. God has blessed me in so many ways and I'm able to do things on my own, with God's help. But I have a desire to be married someday. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, next year, or the year after that, but I do feel as though that's something that I want to experience in my life. So the fact that I'm praying and asking God for that, I believe that I have to demonstrate to God that I am wife material. I have to show him that there is room in my life for a husband. And something I struggle with, and I can admittedly say this, is the being alone until my husband comes along. And I have to, we have to, anybody who's seeking God for something, it could be something other than a mate. It could be anything that you're praying and asking God for. He has to first see that there is room in your life to receive that. If I'm praying for a husband, but I have Larry Joe over here, that's a fictional name. If I have Larry Joe over here playing husband, but he is not equipped with all the qualities that I'm asking God for, it's kind of confusing to ask for something, but your life does not show that there is a void of that something there. I cannot ask for the real thing when I have an imitation of, of a man sitting next to me. So I try to do my best, as a woman or as a human being. We all experience times of loneliness. I think that's a human thing to want to feel, the embrace of the opposite sex, that embrace and have someone to talk to and to feel that feeling that you feel when you're in a relationship, even though this is not really a relationship, but it's like an imitation of what you've been praying to God for. But as long as we keep, filling ourselves up with imitations, anything that's an imitation or that's synthetic, that's not the real deal, it doesn't last long at all. Even when it comes down to, I like using this, description when referring to, as women, we can relate to buying synthetic hair or human hair. human wigs or synthetic wigs. And we will notice that when we buy the real thing, like the human hair, that tends to be more manageable and that lasts longer. So, place that on the man that you're in your mind, you're having a relationship with him in your mind, but he's not, he's not what you pray and ask God for. He's not being your helpmate. He's not, he's not your husband. And you know in your heart that that's not husband material. So that's not going to last long because it's synthetic. It's an imitation. But if we can just, pray and ask God to sustain us while we're single, if it's a husband that we're praying for, if we can just pray and ask him to sustain us, he will give us the desires of our heart always. So we have to make room in our lives for the things that we are praying and asking God to bless us with. He has to look down and say, she has room in her life for this thing. She has room in her life for a mate because Larry Joe isn't there. It's just her and she's doing everything, that a wife would do. The only thing that's missing is her husband. We have to show God that, we have to look like what we want. And that kind of like goes into the law of attraction. I speak of that a lot. I believe in it. I believe that it is the absolute truth that we are like magnets and we attract to us the things that we hold, in our minds, the things that we think about the most, give off a energy and we attract those things to us. So if I'm doing something that is counteracting my thoughts and my desires, then it's going to be hard for me to attract into my life the things that I truly want. So I have to look like what I want. I have to make sure there's room in my life for what I want because you know when magnets come in contact with one another, they attract. You know, if I'm holding a desire in my mind that it's something that I want, but I'm playing around with something that's not even, you know, it's fake. It's not a real magnet. It's not going to come, and it may come close to me, but it will never completely attach to me because that's not it's not what I've been praying for. So we have to become what we want to attract. If you want to receive love, you have to be loved. If you want to have a good friend, you have to be a friend. I mean, whatever it is that we want, we have to first become, and we have to first make sure we have room in our lives to receive whatever that thing is. We have to. Otherwise, it will never, manifest itself in our lives. We have to make room. And if something does manifest, it won't be the real thing. It'll be an imitation. It'll be an imitation, and imitations don't last long. Synthetic, anything synthetic doesn't last. So we have to make sure we have room in our lives and we have to make sure we are holding, the thoughts that we are holding in our mind that, that's what we're attracting to us. Um, I'm going to get ready to wrap the video up. I hope everybody have a fabulous week this week. Whatever it is that you want to accomplish, I pray that you are able to accomplish that. I pray that, this week just be blessed, prosperous, promising. Remember God's promises for your life. He has made all of us promises, and we have to remind ourselves of the things that God has promised us. He wants us to be, abundant. He wants us to live an abundant life. He doesn't want us to live from paycheck to paycheck and stressing about how we're going to do this and how we're going to do that. That's not what life is all about. He wants us to have, abundance in our lives. He wants us to reach our goals. So we have to first seek him, and we have to hold great thoughts in our head, and don't excuse a message based on what you know about the messenger. take what you can take from the person, and whatever else that doesn't apply to you, disregard that. But don't judge a person based on don't judge a person's message based on the person and what they've been through. Everybody have a great day, and I will see you back here on Friday.